Dear friends, today we will discuss about the introduction of non-destructive testings. Myself, Dr. TRILOK GUPTA, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, College of Technology and Engineering, Maharana Pratap University of Agriculture and Technology, Udaipur. So now, first of all, what is the how we can define the NDT? So NDT can be defined as a quantitative measures to measure certain characteristics of an object or specimen or any structure. In the punch words, as far as NDT is concerned, is that inspect or measure without causing any harm to the structure. In detail, we can say that it is often necessary to test concrete structure after the concrete has hardened to determine whether the structure is suitable for the designed life or use. Ideally, such testing should be done without damaging the our structure. Now the test available for testing concrete range from the completely non-destructive where there is no damage to the our structure. Now through those where the concrete surface is slightly damaged is generally called as the partially destructive test such as core cutting or core test, pull out or pull off test. And where the surface has to be repaired in these partially destructive testing, we have to repair our damaged surface. So now we can say that this range of properties by using this NDT techniques can be assessed using this NDT techniques or partial NDT techniques that is quite large and include such fundamental parameters such as density, elastic modulus, strength, as well as the surface hardness, surface absorption, and as well as reinforcement location, size, distance from the surface. So these we can evaluate by using the NDT techniques. In some cases, it is also possible to check the quality of workmanship, whether how much quality or workmanship at the time of construction was achieved, and the structural integrity by ability to detect voids, cracking, and honeycombing like that. So this is basically NDT techniques. Now, why we use this NDT techniques? Basically, NDT techniques can be applied for the both old and new structures. For new structures, the principal applications are likely to be for quality control or resolution of doubts about the quality of material or construction. The testing of existing structures is usually related to an assessment of structural integrity or adequacy. And in either cases, if destructive techniques alone is used, for instance, by removing core from the compression testing machine, the cost of coring and testing may only allow a relatively small number of tests to be carried out on a large, we can say that our structure is large, which may misleading. So in the case of the NDT, that can be used in those situations as primary to subsequent coring. So now why we adopt this NDT? Considered as because this NDT non-destructive techniques considered as a powerful method for evaluating concrete structure with respect to strength, durability, and quality of hardened concrete. And this by using this method, we can detect crack depth, progressive deterioration, voids, location of reinforcement, cover concrete, etc. Assessment of existing structure in the absence of drawing we can also achieve, and by using this technique, this quick assessment of structure can be achieved. Now, the where we can apply this technique, the typical situations where when this NDT can be useful, that quality control of precast units or construction in situ, and location and determination of extent of cracks, honeycombing, and similar type of flow, and defects within a concrete structure, determining the concrete uniformity, possible preliminary to core cutting, load testing, or other more expensive or destructive test, which type of test we have to carry out, determination of position, quality or condition of reinforcement, increase the confidence level of similar number of destructive tests, determination of extent of concrete variability in order to help in selection of sample locations representative of the quality of assessment, and confirmation or location of suspected deterioration of concrete that is resulting from the such factors such as overloading, or we can say that the fatigue, creep, external or internal chemical attack, or any changes takes place, or there may be the fire attack, there may be the explosion, or there may be the environmental effects. And we can assessing the potential durability of concrete by using this NDT techniques. We can also monitor the long term changes in the concrete properties by using this NDT techniques. Now there are the provision, we can make the provision to provide the information for any proposed changes of use of any structure for insurance or any change of ownership. Suppose we have a building that we have to sold out to anybody, so at that time this NDT techniques, so owner, new owner can be assess what is the remaining life of the structure, so that techniques are very useful in this situations. Now we can define that non-destructive testing is the branch of engineering concerned with all method of detection and evaluation flow in the material. The essential features of NDT is that the test process itself produce no deleterious effects on the material or structure under these tests, and this that subject of the NDT has no clearly defined boundaries. That means we can extensively use this technique. Now this NDT can be used for the investigation, the homogeneity of the concrete mixing, and if suppose there is a lack of grout in the post tensioning duct, we can use this technique also, where the we have to determine the density or strength of concrete in a structure, that we can also use the where we find out the position of the reinforcement bar, cover of the reinforcement bar, size of the reinforcement bar. We can use this technique also. Now we can detect the this defect such as corrosion by using this technique. We will discuss it, how we can detect the defects or corrosion in the in our structure, and we can determine the internal defects which can be not visualized by naked eye, such as the voids, cracks, or honeycombing, or lack of bonding between the reinforcement bar and concrete cement paste and in the existing structures or concrete structures. Now we can determine if suppose there is the bond between epoxy bonded steel plate and concrete members, then we can detect or we can evaluate which type of strength that bond can be provided in our structure. Now normally we can classify our concrete testing in three ways. First is the non-destructive technique, another is the partial destructive techniques, and third one is the destructive techniques. In the NDT or non-destructive testings, we can our structure is not destroy the test specimen, and we can use our structure after testing even. In the partial destructive testing, this our whole structure or this our testing specimen just like a, let's say, column, so we can take the core from that, or we can apply the pull out test. So in that case the structure is partially damaged, but we can use our structure or specimen by using the minor repairing. In the case of the destructive techniques, we cannot use after this testing, and because this destructive testing is destroy our sample or specimen in the process of the testing. So this is all about the concrete testing. Now, the what are the advantages of NDT? So we can by using this NDT techniques, the we can rapid evaluate of our structure. We can access the hidden items such as the void, cracks, honeycombing, like that, and it is very less expensive as compared to the destructive techniques, and the results we can achieve without any structural damage to our structure. Now, disadvantage of our this NDT techniques, more than one test method is required, and construction details may affect the results. And this, no doubt, if suppose there is the any reinforcement bar is present in the our specimen, then definitely our results will be affected. Now, environmental condition may affects the results. Suppose moisture is present in our specimen, then definitely our results also affected by environmental condition or that moisture. So thank you.